so none of these guys have brought their weapons with them. So these dudes are running past us, and like that's a complication, right? I don't want to wing a dude who's fleeing.
No.
But they're like in our little field of fire, essentially. And I didn't see the shooting take place. So all I knew is that someone was shooting. I didn't know where they were shooting from. I didn't know if they were on the field or not. I didn't know if fire was coming from the Afghani base. And so I'm like scanning, and I see a dude who's like, he's an Afghani, and his body language is weird. He's just not doing what everybody else is doing, right? And so I look to the army guy, the other army guy, I don't want to say his name. I looked at him and I said, hey man, like, did you see what happened? And as soon as he said no, I heard another burst go off. And I looked back over the field and I saw an American come off of his feet and then land on his back. Like he had been basically lifted off the ground from gunfire, right?
Gosh.
And so I was like, what the fuck is happening? And I turned around and I looked at the tower, because you could see into the doorway for the tower. And I could see two of these dudes huddled, like kind of crouched down looking around in the tower. And I knew that the walkie-talkie for base defense was on the table in the tower. And so I yelled at them, get on the radio, tell base defense that we're taking fire at Tower 1. And so I turned my attention back to the field and I'm listening and I hear them, B-Doc, Tower 1 taking fire. And I said, perfect. Now the base knows what's happening, right? Yes. And so I go back to focusing on the soccer field, and I still notice that dude, that Afghani, who by this point I realize he's the only guy armed out there. And I want to say this is a contributing factor. This is when President Obama had taken office, and there were a lot of dudes getting grilled for like shooting folk who weren't supposed to be shot, right? Yeah. And combat is not always so clear cut with that. Like you don't always get, especially the way that these green on blue situations were going down, right? Yes. So I didn't want to create an international incident, basically. And so I thought if anyone was a threat on this field, it's this guy. He's the only armed Afghani out there. And but I didn't see him do any of the shooting, so I can't just start putting rounds into this guy. So I'm watching him, and he kind of wanders over to the guy that I had saw get shot. And he kind of stands over him and looks at him, and then he brings he had an M16. Brings the M16 up and goes blam, blam, and double taps him. And I was like, oh, you're my guy. Yeah. And so I brought my rifle up, and he wasn't far away. He was like 150 meters.
That's not far at all.
No. And, you know, like, I've never fired my weapon in combat before, you know. So there's so much that I'm trying to, like, process and go through. And, like, I remember having the thought, like, while I was, like, aiming at him, I was like, oh, I should go for a headshot. And then I was like, you know, you need to take the shots you can make right now. Yes. And so he was bladed to me. And so I started aiming underneath his armpit. I was aiming for his heart, right? Yeah. And so I lined up on him. He was walking, and I shot it once, and he kind of jolted, and he kept walking. And then I shot him again, and then he kind of jolted again. One of the NCOs from the unit that we were relieving had come, and dust had kicked up and from me shooting. And so I quit firing because I couldn't really see through the dust. Yeah. And one of the NCOs had ran over to me and was like, give me your weapon. And I was like, no, like, why? And he reached over and tore my rifle. I had it like connected like to a little, like a elastic sling point right here. And he broke the connector. He just tore it from me. And I was like, I don't have a rifle, lame. And so, and then one of his E4s took the 249 from the guy next to me. And I remember being like, what do? I don't have a weapon. And so I went to run back inside the base, and for whatever reason, General Order Number 1 popped up in my head. It was like, guard everything within my limits of my post and quit my post only when properly relieved. And my brain was like, you weren't properly relieved. And so I was like, oh, shit. So I went running back to the checkpoint. I'd only gotten like 20 meters away. I started hearing a lot of fire by this point. And basically, one of the guys from the unit that was out there, he had ran onto base, got to his hooch, grabbed his weapon, and ran back out. And so I linked up with, I knew him, I talked to him a couple times, and I linked up with him